Hey, this is Bryce Harper, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Hey, everybody. Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. Happy New Year 2025, our first episode of 2025. Gentlemen, hope you're doing well.
Feliz Año Nuevo.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Feliz Año. Feliz Año a mis compadres.
I love it. I love it. Are you guys big New Year's Eve guys?
Not
Depends on what age I was.
I'm too old for the New Year's Eve, man.
Anymore.
Yeah, the idea of
My
going
New
to a
Year's
party
ends
and
at
staying
about-
out late.
Yeah, it ends at about 9:45, and I'm 10 toes up after that.
I haven't seen the ball drop, since Ruben played the outfield for the Phillies.
long time ago.
That's a long
Long
time.
time.
That's
The
a
best
long
thing
time.
about having young kids is that they do like early ball drops and stuff like that. Now you can watch them on TV. So like right about the time that it's New Year's Eve in London or in Rome, you can watch like the celebrations there. And boom, saw the ball drop in Rome on TV. Go straight to bed. So
Night-night.
happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. We thought we would spend our first episode of the new year doing a little look ahead, making some predictions, doing some big picture thoughts. We're going to have a lot of talk, of course, over the next 6 weeks before camp opens in Clearwater, right around Valentine's Day, looking ahead at the new season. But we thought we'd do some big picture stuff. So let's open with this, guys. Top storyline on January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd of the 2025 season. What is the top storyline, Jim, in your reporter's brain?
Well, I will say this. There are many storylines, but the ultimate one, the one that matters the most, is can they win? Can they win? I hate to fast forward through the 162 game season because, I love that. I love how it's a daily chapter. Almost like reading a daily novel and watching the twists and turns and seeing how it's going to unfold. And baseball season is long, but it's special. And but for this team with the huge payroll, with the star-studded roster, with sort of the veteran status of a lot of these guys north of 30, the clock is ticking on this nucleus, and they've gotten to October 3 years in a row, which is a very good thing. I expect them to get to October for a fourth year in a row. If they don't, something's really wrong. But the standard is not just getting to October, it's winning. So after 2 Octobers that have gotten shorter and shorter, can they extend this one? And can they finish it off and win the championship that everybody in that organization talks about openly, that that's what it's all about. So that to me is the biggest storyline. Can they get it? Can they get what they want and need? And is this the year?
So that is it. That is probably the top storyline. I think if you're looking at it in a broader sense, I'm more myopic in my views here. And the storylines will change over the season. As you guys know, it's 162 games. It's a long season. Things, there's ebbs and flows. But out of the chute, I think one of the top storylines for me is that I can't believe, or we won't believe, that Kyle Schwarber is no longer going to be the one hole hitter. He's going to slide in the 4 or 5 slot. They've been talking for years. Why is he not hitting in the 4th slot? Why is he not hitting 3rd or 4th or 5th where he can drive in more runs? Well, I think this is the year that it's going to happen. I don't know that it's going to happen. It may not, but I think that that's one of the top storylines is where Kyle Schwarber hits in the lineup, and I think he's going to slide in more into the middle of the lineup because I think there's going to be some adjustments made overall in that lineup, and I think it's the first big thing that I think Rob Thompson is going to end up doing.
And the fact that Rob Thompson has so openly talked about it this offseason leads you to believe that it's coming, and the fact that Kyle Schwarber improved so much against left-handed hitting last year makes you think it's coming because Thompson would feel comfortable with lefty with Harper Schwarber in the middle. Interesting. I mean, you're right. It's not the big picture; it's a small picture. But man,
more myopic, yeah.
You look at the conversation that leadoff hole has stimulated the last couple of years, and if they change it, big story. What do you got, Todd?
Well, it kind of playing off you, Jim, is can this core deliver the goods? The whole plan of the offseason, or everything that Dave has come out of Dave Dombrowski's mouth this offseason is, we've got the star players. We've committed to the star players. We spent all this money. We have Bryce Harper. We signed Trey Turner to a $300 million. We signed re-signed Zach Wheeler to a contract extension where he's going to start making $42 million a year. We signed Aaron Nola to a $173 million contract. We've got the stars. They just need to deliver. So they've nibbled around the edges with these complementary players. So to me, it's, can this core deliver the goods? And that's what this front office, that's what this ownership group has really been banking on, or is banking on coming into 25, which is, we have the players. We're going to get Max Kepler. We're going to add Jesus Luzardo. We're going to add Joe Ross and Jordan Romano. But in the end, it's going to be how those big guys, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Turner, Real Muto, are they going to step up and deliver in the postseason? If they do, they think that this team is good enough to win the World Series. I also think this team is good enough to win the World Series if those guys step up in October. It hasn't happened the last couple of years. It does not mean it's not going to happen. Cannot happen in 2025. I'm of that mindset. I know a lot of fans are very frustrated. I ran into a neighbor the other day, and he said, my neighbor, he stops me on the street, and he goes, I listen, man, I got to tell you, I'm really sick and tired of hearing how this team just needs to get hot at the right time. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm like, it's kind of true. They do have to get hot at the right time. The 2022 Phillies should not have been in the World Series. Let's be honest. They just barely got into the playoffs, but they got hot at the right time and they went all the way to the World Series. The 2008 Phillies, they were not the best team in baseball, but they got hot at the right time and they won the World Series, and now they're legends. So, it is true. If these guys get hot at the right time, they can beat anybody in Major League Baseball. So for me, it is the core stepping up and delivering. What is the thing you guys are most curious to see in 2025? And that could be anything. Ruben, what are you kind of most curious to see in 2025?
So where I am most curious is whether or not Alec Bohm can bounce back from all the rumors, whether he can be the guy that he was one of the best third basemen in the game, I think, or can be. And he's really improved defensively. How does he react to all the BS that was going on as far as his rumors and stuff and getting traded? And now he's just getting a Phillies uniform. And how does he bounce back to be the guy? And I think, it's about him pulling his bootstraps up and saying, hey, man, I got to go get it. And I think he's done that once already. I mean, he did it once when earlier in his career when he, mouthed off about the fans and then bounced right back. He got some support from the fans. Will he have the same sort of support this year because he fell off last year? Will he have the same sort of support from the fans? Does he need that support? I think that's a really big question mark because he is going to be huge in the middle of that lineup. Because if you do go Harper, Bohm, and then Schwarber, he becomes in that lineup. It becomes a very, very, very important part of them having the ability to get to the World Series.
That's a good one.
That's a great answer. Can I get a quick one-word answer before I give from both you guys? Are we both convinced he's on the opening day Phillies roster?
Yes.
Yes.
I think I am too.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone on a long time, and I still think
good. I'm telling you, it would be something short of a miracle if he's not.
Yeah, I would agree. Though I think their ears remain open, and that leads me to what am I most interested to see? And there's a lot of things. I can't give you. I have a tough time pinpointing one, but I will. I'm interested to see how Aiden Miller continues to progress and develop. He got to AAA last year. He's a hell of a prospect. Really good two-way player. A ball jumps off his bat. He can play some defense, great IQ, great intangibles. How quickly does he progress through AA? Does he get to AAA? Do they think he's knocking on the door after this season? And the reason it kind of dovetails in with Alec Bohm because he's into his final 2 years of control. These trade rumors, whether or not they come true this winter or during the season or next winter or not, lead you to believe that at some point he's going to move on. So can Aiden Miller be the third baseman? Will he play some third base in the minor leagues? Also, moving over to shortstop, Trey Turner's position status at shortstop could be in flux. We could see him in the outfield at some point here next year or so, 2 years. I mean, certainly when you look at some of his defensive decline, you think that's a possibility. So with 2 spots on the left side of the infield potentially in flux in the next year, the next 2 years, I'm really curious to see what Aiden Miller looks like, and can he plug one of those holes, and how far away he is, and we'll maybe get a little look at that in 2025.
Yeah, he's been, he's somebody that they're really counting on. I know the ownership group and the front office they've been reluctant to trade him, of course.
They're high on him.
They really love him.
He's a very advanced hitter, so we'll see.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what Max Kepler can do in left field coming off an injury. He hasn't been healthy a lot over his career, much of his career. I think he hasn't had over like 490 plate appearances since like 2019. And the Phillies signed him to a 1-year, $10 million deal to be their everyday left fielder. Can he do the job? There was a lot of talk entering the offseason about how the Phillies were going to address the outfield. They said that we need to go out and find an outfielder that can step up and perform. And I don't want to say they're totally rolling the dice on somebody, but he had some injury issues last season. He underperformed. It was a down season for him. So they really need him to step up and be the player that they project him to be. Because if he's not, that will be an issue. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when, and we understand why it happened, but when the Phillies let Jason Worth go after the 2010 season, and he kind of went in this, I think in the following season it was like John Mayberry Jr., Ben Francisco. We really think that different guys. Of course, Max Kepler has a much longer track record and much more successful track record than those players. But the point being is that you go into a season going, we think these guys can step up and produce. We think this guy can step up and produce and show well. And then if he doesn't, you're sitting there in July going, man, maybe we have to make another move for another corner outfielder. Maybe we need to find that right-handed bat that, we thought Austin Hayes was going to be. Maybe we need to find a bat that we thought Max Kepler was going to be. So I think if he can step up and kind of recapture that form, that would be a huge boost to the lineup. So
yeah, well, there's no question about it. He's going to have a bullseye on him.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to say, well, they're running it back. They're running it back. It's the same players, and if this guy can step forward and be the type of player, he may not be the Raul Ibanez who ended up replacing Pat Burrell, but if he can be a productive player and a positive, I mean, it's hard to be an everyday player in the big leagues, and he's been one. And has had some success doing it. And can he make that adjustment to left field as opposed to being in right field for most of his career?
Biggest fear for 2025. I'll start here. And I think maybe it would be your biggest guys' fear for 2025. And that is, something has happened to Zach Wheeler. Something has happened to Aaron Nola. some sort of starting pitching issue happens where you lose those guys, and not just Wheeler and Nola, but anything, a couple guys go down in that starting rotation, and now you're suddenly dipping into that depth. You're dipping into Joe Ross, who you're hoping to be the third or fourth right hand in the bullpen, is now making some starts. You're hoping that now you're looking to, oh my gosh, is Taijuan Walker going to be in the rotation? Do we need him or some of those other guys? So you don't want to lose Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez. You want Jesus Luzardo's back to be healthy, which he says he thinks it will be healthy. You want Christopher Sanchez to kind of continue where he left off as an all-star in 2024. The rotation, we know it. We've seen it. Starting pitching is so important to a team's success. You don't want those guys to get hurt. That's my biggest fear, or that would be my biggest fear for the Phillies in 2025.
I'm right with you. I'm sorry to duplicate, but health is my biggest fear because the team is getting older. A lot of guys are upward of 30 now. You have some very high mileage arms in the rotation. You've had some injuries, short stints on the IL in the lineup the last few years. And, you just wonder, and they've been very resilient, but there are limits. Right. So, they have a star-studded core lineup. They have some really good starting pitching, couple workhorses at the top. I would fear, like any other team, breakdowns, and I think continued durability in the rotation and good health in the lineup is a must. It is a must because the personnel is good, but it's not good if it's in the trainer's room.
So here's the two things that I'll make a point of, and I totally agree with you guys. Health, especially in the rotation.
Yeah.
But the other part of that health in the rotation, does it put a little pressure on the front office to move Andrew Painter's timeline? And that's the fear that I have. Painter's got to make sure that he is ready to be in the big leagues physically, not just physically as far as his arm is concerned, but like his whole makeup, his whole development. I mean, he is in a lot of ways the future of the franchise because he's so important. He's that good. And so does it put a little finger pressure on Dave Dombrowski if one of the big boys in the top end of the rotation go down? Okay, he was supposed to be in the big leagues in July. Now we got to push him to maybe end of May or June or something like that to the big leagues. And I'm fearful that that's something that might happen if there's a breakdown in the rotation. The other thing that I will say about my biggest fear is obviously the rotation health. But if JT Realmuto goes down, guess what, boys? There's trouble. Because, and I'll say this, he's getting a little longer tooth. I know he's in great shape. He's a great athlete. Marchand, who's I think is going to be the backup catcher, I think he's going to end up, getting an opportunity to play quite a bit. He has trouble staying healthy. And so if Realmuto goes down, and now you have a guy like Marchand, who I think can catch every day. I'm not sure if he can do it physically. He's shown he's able to do that. Catching every day in the big leagues is a totally different thing. If you lose that number one catcher, man, there could be some real issues with the club overall as far as their catching is concerned. As in, you're going with a tandem of Marchand and Stubbs, and I don't have a ton of confidence that they can stay healthy enough to make it through the season.
I totally agree on all your points. I mean, your point about Painter is really
that would be
interesting and timely because, look, we knew he wasn't going to be here at the beginning, and we knew they were going to go slow with him. But Dave Dombrowski kind of finally laid it all out last week, what they're going to do. He's going to be in camp. He's going to throw bullpens. He's going to do all the drills. He's going to get instruction. He's going to interact with the Wheeler and Nola, which I think is going to be really valuable for him. But he's not going to pitch in Grapefruit League games. They're going to, budget his innings, try to get most of his innings at the big leagues with him arriving around July. I think that's a good plan. And you raised the fear that they would expedite that if there's an injury. I think they know how important he is, and I don't see any way in hell they expedite. I think they're going to be committed to this plan, like you were committed to Nola, the plan there, and I think they have to be. But we're all kind of the Painter thing is interesting. I'm glad you introduced it to the conversation because. I mean, he figures in every one of my answers. Storyline, most curious, So
well, he's good. I mean, he's somebody that the fans are going to be like, we got to bring Painter.
Well, yeah. You think of like if a couple starters would go down for whatever reason, a bad hamstring injury, somebody's got a tender elbow. You wonder.
Sorry, guys. I had to blow my nose.
Yeah, but you didn't mute yourself. You turned your camera off.
That's pretty funny.
That is funny. Oh my gosh. But what I was going to say is imagine the pressure if a couple starters go down in April and May and this team is starting to kind of teeter a little bit because the starting pitching is really struggling. There will be a lot of pressure on the front office. Even if they don't act upon it, you're going to be hearing a lot of fans and getting a lot of questions about you're really going to like torpedo your chances to make this postseason because you want to give Andrew Painter. What's the difference between June 30th debut and a May 30th debut? You're going to sacrifice your season on 1 month? Come on, I mean, how soft are you? You're going to get some of that type of stuff.
They're going to be monitoring his readiness. You can always adjust a decision. They're going to have somebody at his side the whole season. And they're going to, if they have a need up here, they're going to evaluate his readiness. But I don't think whatever happens, I don't think it'll be a hasty decision. Because they know how important this guy is.
So the only thing that I will tell the fans at this stage is I know Dave Dombrowski, and then people talk about, them being reluctant to get guys to the major leagues. Guess what, my friends? Dave Dombrowski is not afraid to bring somebody to the big leagues. He could be 6 years old. If he feels like he's ready to go, Dave Dombrowski will bring him to the big leagues. Andrew Benintendi, we went through this when I was coaching with the Red Sox. I mean, they brought him to the big leagues immediately. They had a chance to maybe get a more veteran outfielder, and they were like, you know what, this kid's probably ready to go. Let's bring him.
Yeah, but he didn't have a rebuilt elbow, and he was a position guy. I could see.
I know that. So it's
I could see them being aggressive. I could see them being aggressive with Crawford or Miller, but I think the fact that starting pitching is such a commodity, aces are such a commodity, and he's been cut on. You have to be, but it's not make a hasty decision.
But it's not going to be a decision based on whether the guy is mentally or emotionally ready. It's going to be a decision as to whether he's physically ready and it's best for his long term. I mean, Dave Dombrowski will make the right decision because he's been around the game too long. He understands the importance of long term and short term, and the decision is not going to be based on whether he's ready physically, or it's going to be because it's the right thing to do.
And they want to he's only got so many bullets this year, so many innings, so much workload, whatever you want to call it, and they want to get the bulk of it in the major leagues. So, do you want to bring him in May and have to shut him down by Labor Day? I think you probably want to bring him a little later and see if you can take him right to October.
Let's wrap with this bold prediction for one bold prediction for 2025. Now, I went back and I remember this. We do this at MLB.com. Early in the season or early in the year, we'll make a bold prediction. And my bold prediction, this is pretty bold. In 2019, I said Nick Pivetta is going to make the All-Star team, NL All-Star team. That didn't work out. So that was a bold prediction.
It was bold.
That was bold. That was a bold prediction. Do you guys have a similar bold prediction? Maybe you'll be more accurate than me.
Go ahead, James.
But also, hey, if you're wrong, you're wrong. It's a bold prediction. Don't be afraid.
Bold prediction.
Don't be afraid.
Be bold, Jim. Bold.
Be bold. Remember that T-shirt?
Like I used to be as a GM. I was bold.
You were bold. Be bold. I remember those T-shirts since Gabe Kapler's first spring training with the Phillies. Be bold.
I remember Pat Gillick once said, "Yeah, I'm more of a shopper. Ruben's a buyer."
He did say that. I remember that quote. That was a great line.
You were bold.
Great line.
You were bold. You were true to your Philadelphia boldness.
Right.
I could make a lot of goofy ass bold predictions, but I'm gonna make a reasoned prediction.
Okay.
I saw improvement in Orion Kirkering last year. I think he's got some belly. He's got some gravel in his gut, some toughness, some makeup. I think he could ascend even on a team that doesn't like to anoint closers. I think he could ascend to the closer's role this year. And my bold prediction is he will get 22 to 25 saves and emerge as this team's closer at some point. There you go.
That's
wow. I like it. I thought you were going to say 30 and be really bold, but you didn't show me nothing.
22 is a lot.
That's pretty good.
That is a big number for the Phillies.
That's
a big number for the Phillies.
That's a good one. Here's my bold prediction, and I think I may have tried to predict this before, but I'm going to come out of my shoes and say that Bryson Stott's going to make a run at the batting title in 2025.
Wow.
I think he's going to make a run at the batting title in 2025. I think his elbow is going to be healthy. I think he's going to make a readjustment. I love the player because I know he wants to be really good. I can't say that he's has Chase Utley mentality, but he's that type of player. And I think he's going to have a high expectation of himself. I think he's going to bounce back and have a hell of a year. I think he's going to make a run, and I think he's going to do it out of the one hole.
Ruben, you read my mind.
That's a double Johnson.
You can't read it on the paper, but I have Stott circled. That was my bold prediction, is that Bryson Stott makes the NL All-Star team.
Like it.
following up after because of his health. This is a guy who mid-August 2023 was hitting over 300. He struggled those final 5 weeks of the season. I think he finished around 280-ish. But obviously he wasn't healthy last year. So for a lot of the same reasons, I think he's somebody that can have a big bounce back year. That's my bold prediction. So Ruben, and I was going to say leadoff hitter because I was going to ask you, Ruben. You said new leadoff hitter at the top of the lineup. Who would you hit leadoff? So you're saying maybe Bryson Stott.
Bryson Stott's my guy. He's my guy.
Is he
he's also going to steal 30 bags.
Is he your opening day leadoff?
Opening day, baby, right out of the chute.
Wow. Okay, that's I like that. I like that because
Schwarber in the 5 hole.
Schwarber
and Castellanos in the 6 hole, and Kepler in the 7 hole.
Okay, you got Turner 2.
That's my lineup.
You got Turner 2, Harper 3, Bohm 4, Schwarber 5.
Boom.
I like it.
Castellanos 6, Kepler 7. Left, right. Man, let's go.
You got JT Realmuto hitting 8th.
Let's go. And I don't want to be the manager. That's Rob Thompson's job.
Right. I like those. There's some good bold predictions. This is some good look ahead, some good top storylines. We'll get into we'll dig into a lot of this stuff more in the coming weeks.
I got another one. I think Trey Turner is going to bounce back and be a top 3. I have this one, my second one. He's going to be a top 3 in MVP voting.
Okay.
I think that he's good. I think he's going to turn it around. I know that there's been, why would we sign him a $300 million contract? This guy's a really good player. Mm-hmm. I think that he's going to bounce back and have a phenomenal year. I think he's going to have 30 home runs. I think he's going to have at least 30 bags. I think he's going to drive in, close to 100 runs. I think he's going to score well more than 100 runs. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. I think he's going to be a top 3 MVP.
Well, that's going to really help the team because I think we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about this last summer. It's like kind of when he's playing good, they win. Like wins follow that guy.
No doubt.
Well, Ruben, when you do say that, we talked about fans kind of being down and running it back and whatnot. But man, if Trey Turner finishes top 3 for NL MVP, it's really easy to see this team winning the NL East. It's really easy seeing this team go on a deep run in October. If you don't have to squint, I personally don't think you have to squint too much to see those types of things happening. If the core players like Trey Turner have a big year, if Bryson Stott is hitting leadoff for this team, that means he's hitting, close to 300, maybe better than 300. He's getting on base at a great clip. That means all those other guys slide down, like you said. Really easy to see this team scoring a ton of runs and winning a lot of baseball games.
I love it. I like it. I like that lineup. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but I like that one.
I actually considered for my bold prediction, I considered Bryce Harper leading off 30 games.
Wow.
Well, I could see that happening too. A la Bobby Abreu. And I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, Jim, after the winter meetings when Rob Thompson mentioned, would you consider Bryce hitting leadoff? He said, well, you get more at bats over the course of the season, it can help your Hall of Fame chances. So it sounds to me like that's something that's been kicking around his mind. You have Ohtani hitting leadoff, Lindor hitting leadoff. A lot of the baseball's best hitters are hitting leadoff now when there may be more traditional 3-4 guys.
I wonder a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is not my official bold prediction, but if it happens, we'll splice it in.
We will splice it in. You'll be like, I remember you, Jim, on January 1st saying Bryce Harper is going to hit leadoff, and God dang it, you nailed it. So, all right, we'll be back next week, guys. That was fun. Little 2025 look ahead. We'll have plenty more in the year to come. See you guys.
Happy New Year. Smell you later.
Yep.
Happy New Year. Smell you, Jim.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.